Hey everybody, welcome to Module 8, Chapter 8. My name's Todd McLeod. This is Computer Concepts. We're going to go through Chapter 8 here, and we're going to go through these objectives here. You can pause the video and take a look at them. And we're also going to go through these objectives here. You can pause the video, you can take a look at them. And we're also going to go through these objectives here. And again, you can pause the video and you can take a look at those. So the first thing we're going to talk about is digital convergence. And so digital convergence is like digital, right? Everything that's been digitized, it's been turned into digits or zeros and ones, meaning it's all somehow in a computer somewhere. And the convergence of all those things which are being digitized, so everything in the world, right, being digitized, and the convergence of that into single devices. And so that's kind of what digital convergence represents. And it's this idea that your cell phone, is not, which is an amazing technological invention in and of itself, right? But your cell phone is no longer just a phone. It also receives text messages. It also allows you to take pictures. It also allows you to take videos. It also could allow you to do like your personal financial management if you have the right app installed. It also allows you to connect to social media and to share things and to edit videos. And it could record audio for you. So it's a convergence of all these different tools into one device. So that's digital convergence. One of the things I want you to learn in this course is that you could use ChatGPT. I want you to learn how to use it and use it well because it's an incredibly powerful tool. And so I will model that for you in the class. And so here I am modeling, asking a question of ChatGPT, what is digital convergence? And I'm saying this is a topic that's being covered in my introductory computer concepts course. So I'm telling ChatGPT, tell me about digital convergence, but tell it to me in relationship to this class I'm taking, because I want it in that context, right? I don't want digital convergence like at a news level, right? Don't tell me the news about digital convergence. I kind of want a definition of digital convergence that's relevant to this introductory computer class I'm taking. So really kind of thinking about, the questions you ask, giving a little bit of context of who you are, where you are, what you're doing, and why you're asking the question can help ChatGPT give you an answer which is more specific to your situation. So you can pause the video and you can kind of read through how I worded that question. And it's not like it's complicated or there's a right or wrong way. It's just a process of experiment and trial and error, and you get better answers one way versus another way. And so that's how I'm doing it. And you might choose to also kind of like say, yeah, that's a good idea. Or you could just do it your own way and see what comes out and then just modify. So digital convergence here, you could pause and you could read the definition that ChatGPT gave. It's a really good definition. And again, I'm using the paid version of ChatGPT, which gives better results than the free version. The paid version is amazing. So I really recommend it. It's $20 a month. And the next question was, or the next topic to cover in this chapter is Internet of Things. And so again, I asked ChatGPT, right? Now it already has the context of I'm in an introductory computer concepts course. So down here, I could just say, can you please explain Internet of Things? And I think you could tell a lot about a person. Like for me, just part of my own morality and ethics is I just want to practice reinforcing within myself. So practice leads to progress. Repetition is the mother of mastery. But I just want to keep practicing using good manners and being polite, saying please, saying thank you. And of course, if there's ever a rise of the machines, it'll probably only help me if I'm kind to the machines. They'll be like, spare that human. He always said please and thank you. But it's also just good practice so that when I'm in the world, I'm used to saying please, right? And I notice sometimes too, one of the things I paid attention to, just like personal reflection, is that I will sometimes ask a question, can you please? And sometimes I'll say a statement, please explain Internet of Things. And so, different approaches, different situations, but just interesting to think about the way you communicate. So when I'm asking a second question, I don't have to give it context again because it's remembering this conversation. It's a back and forth where previous exchanges in the conversation are remembered by ChatGPT. So I just say here, please explain Internet of Things. And so here, Internet of Things is being explained. And Internet of Things is just a network, like things connected to the internet. That's what it is. So a lot of definitions in technology are reflective. They're self-reflective, right? And so the meaning of what the term is can be discovered in the term itself. So the Internet of Things is just things connected to the internet. And that's exactly what it is, right? Refrigerators, thermostats, Ring doorbells. Like I could be driving home, at a red light, right? I could go onto my phone, I could set my thermostat if it's connected to the internet. And I have an app on my phone. I could say, hey, cool the house down, I'm heading home. Or like my Ring doorbell, if somebody comes up to the house, like my phone will alert me somebody's at the house and I can see who it is. And I can listen, what are they talking about? And I could even talk to them through the Ring doorbell, right? So it's all these different things connected to the internet which provide like greater functionality. And so refrigerators is an interesting one. And it's interesting just to speculate. Hold on one second. All right, I had to get a drink of water. And it's interesting to speculate, like, like what are things going to be like? And how can us connecting a certain device to the internet, connecting a certain thing to the internet, how can it make things better? How can it make our lives better? How can it make that thing better? And so, I encourage you to pause this video right here and speculate, like, how can we make refrigerators better? Having a refrigerator connected to the internet, how could that make refrigerators better? So go ahead and pause the video and reflect upon that. All right, so in class we reflected upon this. And the conversation, what came out of the conversation is that wouldn't it be great if your refrigerator knew what you normally purchased, and when you're like, driving home, you're going to stop at the grocery store, you could just ask your refrigerator, hey, what am I low on? What am I out of? What do I need to pick up? Can you put together a shopping list for me? And your fridge would be like, well, you only have 2 eggs left, and you got like, a quarter of a gallon of milk left. So you probably need some milk, you need some eggs. You're completely out of cheddar cheese. So I get some cheddar cheese. And those grapes that you like, no more of those. And you could even maybe tell, have settings that you could set in this app. The fridge can then also like tell you to buy more fruits and vegetables. And it could even say like, here's what you have in your fridge. And here's some recipe ideas for dinner based upon what's in the fridge. And it could like say, well, you got these things, you can make this dish. And so like having your fridge have some intelligence and be able to be connected to the internet so it can communicate with you, that could be cool. And you could say, yeah, that all looks good. Why don't you order that from the store and I'll be there in 30 minutes to pick it up. And so a lot of stores will even pre-bag everything for you. So when you walk in, it's all bagged and you just go up and you pay and you walk out. And so you could even have that efficiency added in. So that's the Internet of Things, and there's some really cool possibilities there and lots of room for innovation still in connecting things in the world to the internet and giving it functionality. The next thing we have is the difference between digital and analog signals. So digital has to do with digits, as in binary digits, those zeros and ones. That's where digital comes from. And binary digits is an abstraction to represent, for us, it's a symbolic representation of switches in on-off states. So if you go back to when we learned about how computers work, you have your porch light on Halloween, and if your switch is in an on position, it means come trick or treat, and if it's in an off position, it means go away. So a switch in one state or another, on or off is 0. We represent off just for symbolic representation, easy notation. We represent off as 0 and on as 1. So a circuit or a switch or a transistor, those are all interchangeable words. They're all synonyms. You could say switch or circuit or transistor. They could be in an on-off state, and then we have those represent something, come trick or treat or go away. And so that's a digital environment, a binary environment, right? Where something is on or off. It's circuits or switches in on-off states. Those are binary digits. It's digital. So that's like explaining the differences between digital and analog. That's digital. It's a switch or a circuit in an on-off state. It's pulses of electricity flowing through a machine, digital. Analog, on the other hand, is like the real world. Analog is a continuous, often described as a continuous thing. So a continuous cycle of some sort of a wave, whether those are waves that are can be seen or can be heard by humans, or they're waves that are at some frequency which we can't see them or we can't hear them. So my voice is analog, is an analog signal, right? And when you take things from digital to analog, so at one point in time they would send information over phone lines. And when you take things from a computer and send that digital information over a phone line, you would modulate it from digital to analog, from circuits, switches, transistors, call them what you will, in on-off states, those zeros and ones, the symbolic representation of those on-off states was 0 and 1, those zeros and ones, we'd take those and we'd send them over the phone line. And to send them over the phone line, they had to be turned into sounds. So it'd be like for 0 and for 1 would be sort of representation of how that might have been done. And so that's going from digital in the computer, circuit switches, transistors, and on-off states, to analog, some sound that is being sent over some medium, right? And so the sound is a continuous wave. It's a sound wave. Even if it's in an on-off, low sound or a high sound, it's still a sound, and a sound wave is analog, an analog signal. So that's the difference between digital and analog. And here I asked ChatGPT, and digital and analog signals. I just kept shortening this. Can you please explain just to and this also? And it understood from the conversation. It wants me to tell it. It wants me to have it tell me about digital and analog signals in relationship to a computer concepts course, an introductory computer concepts course. And so here is the response that ChatGPT gave to me. You could pause the video and you could read this. And it's basically everything I just explained to you. And you could also pause the video right here and you could read that. And then I also asked a follow-up question of that for clarification. And so notice here I'm really having a conversation with ChatGPT. And so the follow-up question was this, and then this was the response. And so that's another example. You can pause the video, you can read through that. Another example of using ChatGPT. The next thing is to describe the different types of e-readers and explain how to borrow and publish e-books. And so e-readers are things that allow you to read e-books. And if you go to Amazon, so I'm just going to go to Amazon, I'm going to search for a book, and I'll search for, I don't know, Be Useful by Arnold Schwarzenegger, which is a great book. Really like it. And here you could get it as a hardcover, as a paperback, as an audiobook. I like listening to books when I drive, or, I used to do it when I go for a walk or work out. Like, that's nice, right? Listen to a book. But here you could also get it as a Kindle. So a Kindle is an e-book. And to read e-books off of Amazon, you need some sort of a Kindle device. So you could get this. This is the e-reader that allows you to read the e-book. And this is the Kindle, e-reader, right? And they're actually really great devices. So if you like reading, you probably already know about these, and I really recommend them. But if you have your phone, you could also just install an app, and then your phone becomes an e-reader that allows you to read e-books. And then the way you could, borrow them, I guess you could go to the library. I've heard that people do this. I've never done it. And you could borrow ebooks. And then you could also publish ebooks. And so Amazon has a place called CreateSpace. And this is run by Amazon, and it's Kindle Direct Publishing. And so you could come in here and you could log in and you could create books and publish them. So that's how you'd publish them. Next thing we're going to look at is describe how digital music is created and stored. All right, so digital music needs to go from analog signals, which is like musicians with drums and guitars and whatever else and singing. That's all sound waves, right? We need to capture those sound waves and we need to digitize them. We need to make them digital. And so there's an analog to digital converter, ADC, and that's kind of the process that, just a general catchphrase for the process of going from analog to digital. It's ADC, analog digital converter. And then the process from going to digital to going back from digital from the computer and then out speakers, that's digital to analog converter. So you have analog sound to digital converter, ADC. And then you also have from the computer digital to analog sound, DAC, digital analog computer. So ADC and DAC, right? ADC into the computer, analog to digital, and DAC, digital analog, out of the computer. And so those are, capturing the sound and digitizing it. And the way it gets digitized is that we have zeros and ones, circuits and on-off states represent stuff. We have a coding scheme. So if your front porch light switch is on, it means come trick or treat. And if it's off, it means go away. The state of the switch or the circuit, the transistor, call it what you will, the state of that, right? We have a coding scheme representing what each state means. So if it's on, it means come trick or treat. If it's off, it means go away. So early monitors, they have pixels, like all monitors have pixels, but they used to only have, those pixels could either be black or green. And so like if we do black, green monitor, right? We could see images of early computer screens, and those pixels could either only be black or green. And so each pixel could be one color or the other color, black or green. And so for each pixel, and pixel is a picture element, and a picture element are the little dots that make up all of the images on the screen. That's a really small image. I'm going to see if there's more here. I'll go to Tools, and I want Size, and I want Large. So let's get a large one, and then we'll, I don't know, there's that one, or there's this one, and we'll open this up, open image in new tab, and hopefully you have a really big image. Yeah, that's all right. But anyhow, you can't see, but if you got really close, you'd see each of those, all those little things there are made up of little dots of color. So you could really see that on old monitors. And for each pixel, which is a picture element, every dot of color would have a circuit, right? Telling it which color to be. And it would either be black or green. So it'd either be 0 or 1. I don't know which stood for which. And that was the coding scheme for creating an image. Well, just like we have coding schemes for the porch light on Halloween, we have coding schemes for creating images, putting colors on the screen. And today, the color depth or bit depth, the number of circuits representing the color for each pixel is like 16 or 24 bits or circuits in on-off states representing what color each picture element can be, which is why when I look for something like Hawaii sunset, right? There's like all of these different colors here. It's no longer black and green, right? And so every little picture element, and we'll go to tools here and we'll say, hey, I want to see these when they're large also. And I was liking that image, and we'll open this image in a new tab, right? But every little pixel, every little dot that's making up this image has its own color. So for each of these dots, we have to store that color information. And then for a high definition HD image, it's going to be 1,920 dots, 1920 across, and 1080, 1,080 of those rows. So there's going to be 1920 by 1080 pixels on the screen, because there's 1,920 per row and there's 1,080 rows, or there's 2,073,600 pixels. And then for each of those pixels, we might be storing 16 bits of color, right? So 16 circuits in on-off states. So we'll have 33 million circuits, 33,177,600 circuits in on-off states to store high definition image of this here. And each of those pixels will have 16 bits, 16 circuit switches, transistors in an on-off state, so that we know which color each of those little dots should be. And when you put all those little colors, those little dots of colors next to each other, it looks like this. Kind of wild, but that's the way they did it. And likewise for sound, to get sound, right? Instead of having little dots of color to create an image, we're going to take samples every second of a sound. And so a sample every second of sound would be, there's 44,100 samples every second, 44,100. And so in 1 second, we'll take 44,100 samples, and of those 44,100 samples, right, for each one, it'll be some little tone. So just like each of these little dots here is some little color, each of those little samples for sound will be some little tone. But it'll be like 1 second, and it'll be really fast. And so when you play all those back together, just like all these little dots of color look like an image, all those little individual sounds, when you play all 44,100 in 1 second, and then second after second play it, it comes out sounding like Smoke on the Water, which is an old song. I don't know if you've ever heard it, right? But that's how sound gets encoded, 44,100 samples a second in CD quality sound. And then how many bits do you store for each sample is the other question. And then we could store those as like a WAV file. So the sound can be stored as a WAV file, WAV, or it could be compressed even further as like an MP3. And a WAV file would be like for 5 minutes, like 50 megabytes. And an MP3 for 5 minutes would be like 5 megabytes. And so MP3 compresses that WAV file, gets rid of some of those zeros and ones that need to be stored, gets rid of a lot of them. It gets rid of 9/10 of them. And it still can't be really detected by the human ear, but it makes a much smaller file size, which is why MP3 is kind of the standard for delivering music, because it's a smaller file size, but WAV is like a higher quality if you want the higher quality one. And so again, I asked ChatGPT, can you please explain this, describe how digital music is created and stored? So you could pause the video right here and you could read about it. And then you could also pause the video right here and you could read about it again. And then you could pause the video right here and you could read about the rest of it. So that's how sound gets created and stored. And we talked about how to listen to, we didn't talk about that yet, but how to listen to digital music, Amazon Prime or Amazon Music or Spotify, or like listen to it on YouTube, right? YouTube Music. Explain how to best create, print, and share digital photos. So, creating digital photos is with your camera, and there's all kinds of amazing options now, filters and incredible effects, and zoom in and zoom out. And so it's easy with your phone now to create great digital photos. And then to print them, you could just Google printing services, and like pharmacies will print photos, or you could order printed photos online and they'll send them to you. And to share them, we all are very familiar about how to share photos online, aren't we? Different social media sites and things like that, right? Describe how to edit and distribute digital video. So digital video is pretty amazing, and it's pretty incredible that you can make such extraordinary video so easily. You can record video on your phone, and you could even edit it on your phone, or you could upload it to a computer, and you could edit it with more advanced, more powerful editing software on your computer. And once you've edited it, you've got just the clips you want and the sound you want and the music you want. You could then, publish it. You encode it to some sort of a video file format, like a MP4, instead MP3s for audio, MP4s for video. And then once you encode it, you could upload it to YouTube or TikTok or Instagram or Facebook or X, like whatever you like, and you could share it that way. Challenges in managing an active digital lifestyle. This is a really interesting topic to reflect upon. So we're talking not just about like pictures or video, but an entire digital lifestyle. And the digital life is actually pretty wild and pretty different than the way humans have lived throughout the vast majority of our evolution. And it has a lot of ramifications and a lot of implications. And this is where you really have to be cognizant of using technology well instead of letting it use you. So that question that we started the course out with, do you use technology or does it use you, is a really relevant question to this discussion point right here. Discuss the challenges in managing an active digital lifestyle. There's all kinds of things you have to think about. And in some ways, right, when technology was emerging, they called this stuff time-saving devices. But in some ways, we have more time-saving devices than ever, but we have less time than ever, which is kind of a weird paradox. But there's all kinds of challenges. So I encourage you to, again, pause the video here and just reflect for 30 seconds. Like, what are the challenges in managing your digital life, right? What are the challenges? Not texting when you're driving, what other challenges, right? What are the challenges? Okay, so pause the video, reflect upon that. And then when you're done, come on back and unpause it. And now I'm going to share with you what ChatGPT shared. So here I asked, again, a follow-up question on the sound stuff. So you can pause the video and you can read that. And you can pause the video and you can read that. And you can pause the video and finish it. But here I asked about, that was just about musical hardware for recording back in the days. You could pause and read that. But then I asked, tell me about the challenges in managing an active digital lifestyle. So there's a lot of really good points that ChatGPT raised. Information overload, right? Like, man, there's so much information. So many things. YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, messages, phone calls, emails, right? Messages on your school platform, homework due, reminders, bells, calendars. It's like information overload. News, right? There's even more. Time management. Right? It can make it, the digital tools are designed to keep us engaged. It can result in us spending more time online than intended. So it could be challenging to manage time effectively between work, personal life, and digital engagement, leading to procrastination, lower productivity, right? Plus, maintaining that work-life balance. Like if you're always connected and you go home and a work email comes in, like, okay, let me respond to work, right? Like it's harder to kind of maintain that work-life balance. And again, we have more time-saving tools than ever and less time than ever, it seems like. So it's kind of like, I'm not sure what went wrong there, but anyhow, maybe when the robots come, we'll have more free time. It could lead to distraction and multitasking, so you're not focused on one thing because you're just like torn between all these things. So you never get good at any one thing, but scrolling TikTok or whatever. Digital well-being and mental health. So, too much time online, there's research that shows, very conclusive research that shows it could really negatively impact your mental health. So you can pause the video and read about that. Privacy and security concerns, right? So like all of your information's out there. How's that going to impact your life? privacy concerns. So, how much can an insurance company see about you and determine whether or not they want to give you life insurance or issue a homeowner's insurance policy or car insurance? Or can future employers see a lot of stuff about you online? What are they going to decide and determine when they take a look at your online presence? And will you not get a job because you've shared certain things online? Privacy concerns, right? And security concerns. So security concerns like, can your identity be hacked? Are all of your accounts secure? How do you keep yourself safe? So just to briefly reflect upon that, one of the things you really want to ChatGPT is how to freeze your credit with the 3 credit bureaus. So you could say, ask ChatGPT, can you please tell me how to freeze my credit with the 3 credit bureaus? Ask ChatGPT that, and that's something you absolutely want to do because that prevents your identity from being stolen. So basically, it makes it impossible for anybody else to access your credit and thus get credit, buy a car, get a loan in your name, unless they have your password to your frozen credit at all the 3 bureaus. And when you need to get credit, you unfreeze it briefly. They check your credit. They issue you credit to buy a car or get a credit card or whatever, and then it goes back to being frozen. So that only you get to determine who gets to see your credit when you want them to see it. That's what freezing your credit is. Really good idea to do that. Tech dependency and digital addiction. So technology can be addicting, and then people just sit there scrolling their phones and don't do anything else with their life, and they don't get out there and interact with real people, right? Keeping up with tech changes. It's like, what? What is that? What? How does this work? What? Right? Just all the time, right? Quality of human interaction. So online, it's convenient, but that's not the same kind of human interaction as boom, we're in person, we're hanging out, right? Like other cultures do a lot of like, hey, how are you, touching and things like that, shaking hands. Like America, not so much. But it's really nice to be with people in person, and online communication, digital communication doesn't offer that. Physical health impacts, like look at me, I'm still sitting. It's 4:00, and here I am. I'm sitting in a chair. So you got to think about using your body and make sure you put time in your day for using your body. Decision fatigue, I don't know what to watch on Netflix. Or have you ever had that experience? You're like trying to figure out a movie to watch, and after like 30 or 40 minutes, you're like, forget it. I don't want to watch a movie. I can't figure out which one to choose, right? So decision fatigue. Managing multiple accounts and passwords. Oh my gosh, right? How do you manage all your passwords? So many passwords. I really recommend Google Password Manager, okay? So just use Google Chrome and use Google Password Manager and watch a little bit about how to use Google Password Manager. It's going to really help you out. Strategies to overcome these challenges. Right here, there are some strategies to help you overcome it. So you could pause the video and read that. So that's digital lifestyle. Describe various types of intellectual property. So we've talked about intellectual property a little bit. I'm going to do it again just because repetition is the mother of mastery and practice leads to progress. But with intellectual property, there's like 3 main categories. And so we'll just list those out here, and I'll just put them, I guess, right here. And I'll leave them in yellow, but I'll make them a little bit smaller. I'll make them like 14, man. So we have copyright, trademark, and patent. And I want this to be formatted with less spacing, so I'm going to remove the space before, and I also will remove space here. So format, line of spacing, remove space before paragraph. Sure, why not? Just that one got moved up. Maybe I like it better like that. I don't know why this one's so tight right there. Maybe if I do this and then hit enter. No, that's not. I think that's even worse. That's better. All right, let's leave it like that. And I could go in here, so I could go to format, just FYI. And I could go to slide and change edit theme. And then in theme, I could click on this main one here, and I could grab all that. And I could just get that out of the way. And then I could close this. And there we go. That looks better. All right, so copyright. So copyright is, there's 2 types of intellectual property. So we'll put that in here too. Two types of IP, okay? And then we have copyright, and we have trademark, and patent. So the 2 types of IP are real and intellectual. Okay, so real property is anything you can touch. This is real property, okay? I could touch it. And that's why we call it real estate. It's real, you could touch it. Intellectual property is stuff that you can own that you can't touch. right? So like anything that I say, I own it. I own it, ladies and gentlemen. As soon as I say it, if I write a poem, I own it. I own that poem. Or like if I create a song, like Bruce Springsteen creates a song. He's an old artist from when I was young. And you know, you can't hold that song. You can't hold that song. I can't hold it like I hold my sunglasses. Yeah, I could put the song on a little CD or on a flash drive and I could hold that. But what's valuable isn't the flash drive or the CD. It's the song. It's the song that's on there. It's the way he said it, the words he used, the rhythm, the tempo, right? The feeling. Like that's property. He owns it, and it's intellectual. You can't grasp it. And so that's intellectual property. And that applies to music, it applies to movies, it applies to poetry, it applies to books, it applies to software code. All these ideas and the expression of those ideas, that's intellectual property, right? And it has value, and we protect it in the United States. The person who created it has the right to copy it. They have the copyright. They have the right to copy it. Somebody else can't go out and copy it and start selling it, right? They don't have the right. It's only the person who owns the copyright that has the right to copy it and make money from it and share it with others. So that's real property and intellectual property and copyright. And as soon as you create something, you own the copyright. But to prove that you created it, you need to be able to show, like if there's ever a court case, you need to be able to show the courts, look, this is when I created it. Here's the proof. I emailed it to a friend, right? And you can see the date here. This is when I emailed it. I put it onto Google Drive. You can see the date here. You can check Google servers and check the date. It was there on those dates, right? And then you know, the other person, the judge would say, well, this person had that book on this date. Can you prove you had it before then? And if the other person can't prove it, you're the one who had it first. And so that's literally how some of those court cases are with copyright, right? Like, did they have it first? Did they have it first? And I'm just seeing if there's anything else I want to say about copyright, but I think that's it. Oh, I do. You could file a copyright with the USPTO, Copyright Office, something like that. So copyright office, US. Yes, there we go. So here's the US Copyright Office, and you could file a copyright. You could upload your file to the Copyright Office. It's like $40, probably more now. And then they say, can you prove you had it on this date? You say, yeah, I filed it with the Copyright Office. And then they have a copy, the government has a copy as of a certain date and time showing that you own that thing at that date and time. So that's a copyright. And then a trademark is a mark for doing trade. So if I, like, let's just look at like trademark. So here's a trademark right there. That's a trademark. That's, a mark for doing trade, and that's BMW, right? And so BMW owns the right to use this mark in trade. It's a trademark. They own that. Nobody else can go out there and be like, I'm going to build a toaster and put this on it. And people will be like, wow, that's a really fine toaster. That toaster's got some amazing German engineering. Man, that's the best German engineering on that toaster. You can't do it. Nobody can do it because the company, BMW, owns this mark for trade. So nobody else could put this mark on something that isn't created by that company, BMW, right? Like without their permission. But BMW owns this mark for doing trade. And they want to protect it, and they do protect it so that anything you buy with this mark on it, you have the assurance that it was created within that company's culture, to that company's quality standards, right? So that's why, like with McDonald's, right? Anytime you see McDonald's logo, it's like, hey, if this came from McDonald's, then I know what to expect. If it's something that came from, with this logo on it, I know what to expect. There's a certain consistency and quality, control, and taste, which they work really hard to keep consistent everywhere around the world. And so that's like, they own the mark to do trade with that logo. That's the trademark. And then finally, there's a patent, and a patent is just like for like new inventions with engineering. You file the schematics for that, and then you have the right for a certain period of time to create that. And so all of these things give you like some market monopoly power, and so you're the only person who can use this mark for trade. You're the only person who could sell this song or this software, or you're the only person who could produce this mousetrap in this way. And so that monopoly power allows you to invest as a company with that kind of protection that nobody else can do it. That kind of protection allows you to invest as a company and as a society into the creation of intellectual property, into new drugs, into new software. Because the people who invest in creating those new drugs, those new pharmaceuticals, that new software, right, or that novel or that movie or that song, the people who invest in creating that know that they're going to own the rights to that, and they could recoup, hopefully, their investment. And so some companies make investments of billions of dollars creating new pharmaceutical drugs, and then they own the right to sell that drug, and nobody else can sell it. And so then, because of that, they could charge a high price, and if it's really helpful to people, and recoup their investment. So protecting intellectual property from a social standpoint empowers that society to create things of an intellectual property nature, because people can invest in it and get a return on their investment. So that's copyright, trademark, patent, real and intellectual property. And then we have explained copyright infringement, and if you use somebody's stuff without their permission, you could be legally liable. And so you have to get everybody's permission to use their stuff. That includes like actors or talent in pictures or in videos. They will sign releases saying, I got paid and I'm releasing my acting performance, which I would own otherwise. I'm releasing that ownership to you. And so you could use my image and likeness in this video. Or like locations, right? Like movies will get location releases saying we could use this building in the background, and so they get location releases. They get releases for all that stuff. So at our level, people will go out sometimes and steal software, pirate. It's called pirating software, or pirating music, or pirating movies, and you're using somebody's stuff without their permission. So you could be held legally liable for that. And at the beginning of movies and things like that, you'll see like piracy statement. At beginning of movies. I don't know what this will bring up, but we'll look at images, and so you'll see stuff like this, right? And it'll say like prison and fine of up to $250,000, right? And 5 years in prison for stealing people's intellectual property. Example, explain plagiarism. So plagiarism is using somebody else's work and claiming it as your own. And generally it's an academic kind of concept. And meaning you come across and think about plagiarism most in school, but also you don't want to do it in the real world. So anytime you use somebody else's intellectual creations, you want to give them credit for it. And you could avoid any plagiarism. You could avoid, plagiarizing somebody by always giving them credit. So you could quote whatever you want in a paper, just put quotes around it and say the source, and you're good. Hoaxes and digital manipulation. So you can't believe anything anymore. So if you look at we all see this stuff, but Trump and Elon dancing, right? Like there's a video of Trump and Elon dancing, and you could just Google that and you could watch them dance, but it's all fake, right? And if you go to like OpenAI and you look for OpenAI video, so let's do video, like all of these videos here, creating video from text, like this was created like, these are like all paper airplanes nesting in a tree. That's kind of crazy. Origami nesting in a tree. And here's a woman walking in Tokyo. 100% not real. That was created 100% by machines. And it looks pretty good. Or like, this one here, like buffalo. I think, no, those aren't buffalo. I don't know what those are. What are they? Woolly mammoths or something, right? Yeah, woolly mammoths. There we go. So like all these videos, can be created today. And, if you just search for, I'm just going to stay off of the political stuff. But if you search for any political figure doing stuff praying to Jesus, or with an eagle, or as Superman, you can find all that stuff. And it's digital manipulation, and you can't believe anything you see online anymore. Or, media. It's just it could all be created. What compromises your online reputation and how to protect it? One of the risks, we talked about this, of digital lifestyle is putting a bunch of stuff out there about yourself, because then insurance companies, auto insurance, home insurance, life insurance, employers, they can all look at that and they can make a determination whether or not they want to work with you, give you insurance or give you a job. And so it's a little bit of a scary deal, right? And so, because everybody has their shortcomings, everybody has those moments in their life where they trip, stumble, and fall. And if you're going to participate in the online space, you're going to trip, stumble, and fall in the online space. Particularly if you're creative, you're going to be like, you're going to try stuff. And it might be funny to you now, but not funny to others. Or in 15 years, it might not be funny to you either. Your personality might have changed. But then all that stuff's out there forever. And what happens if in like 20 years, you're like, hey, I want to run for the school board, or I want to be a principal at a school, or I want to be the mayor of a city, or I want to be the governor or the president, and then like these videos of you like doing totally dorky stuff when you're young, hanging out with your bros, being like, yeah, or whatever, right? Or your friends, they'd be like, look at this, right? Like, I mean, what's that world going to look like? It's kind of absurd because you can no longer be human because people could piece together the worst of the worst about you or the best of the best about you, and they could paint two different portraits. And so that's part of the problem the world's going through right now, is because you could find great things and horrible things, or bad things, or embarrassing things, or awkward things, or foibles. That's the best word, foibles, about anybody. And so you could bring those out and just really be like, look at this person. And then, you could lambaste people or glorify them. And that's kind of probably contributed to divisiveness. So here we're just going to I'm just going to show you these slides. And, we talked about all these things. But maybe you want to pause the video on one of these slides and you could kind of just take in how they talk about it, or maybe one of the images will help you. Or you could chat GPT some of the stuff we didn't talk about, like digital rights management, and that will help you learn all this stuff. But these are all pretty cursory treatments of all the things we talked about, but we definitely talked about all these things. There are a few file formats there we didn't talk about for AVI versus MP4. MP4 is there. And, Internet of Things, IoT, privacy issues like Amazon, always listening. Here's all your conversations. Cryptocurrency. We didn't talk about cryptocurrency, blockchain, digital wallet. Super interesting, cryptocurrency. And blockchain is the technology behind a lot of crypto. Blockchain is this idea that there'll be blocks and we'll chain them together, and every block will keep track of all the transactions related to a single coin. It keeps track of all the transactions. So all transactions are in a ledger which can be read, so you could verify that everything is legitimate. And that's blockchain. And cryptocurrency is like people trying to innovate in the space of currency. And then there's the deep web and the dark web. And so that's usually used for illegal activity, but it's the web you can't get to with the normal internet browser. And wearable technology, and then intellectual property, and copyrights, and public domain, Creative Commons, a few more things in there which are good to take a look at. And fair use is good to know about, so you could chat GPT that. I'll leave that to you. And then also, this would be fair use example right there. And then plagiarism and hoax, and urban legends, and fake news, and digital manipulation, and then those items there. There's some good stuff there. All right, so that's Chapter 8, Module 8. I hope you enjoyed it. Keep going to school. Degrees open doors. Degrees get dollars. Plan your career. Choose your paycheck, I like to say. Because right now you get to choose your paycheck. And you could stop and go start flipping burgers. Or you could get your bachelor's, your master's, your doctorate, your MD. And you could get an amazing career where you really have efficacy and you really get to make impact and help run things and help make decisions and help people and get paid great to do it. So choose your paycheck well. I know school can feel laborious and tiresome. You kind of in your 20s, at least me, I wanted to get out there and be in the world and actually start doing stuff, but to be studying after, 12 years going through high school of studying. And then 4 more for a bachelor's, and then 2 more for a master's. But in retrospect, I wish I'd gone a lot farther, and I wish I'd had more clarity on choosing my career, choosing my paycheck when I was younger, because there's stuff that I didn't go for, maybe because I didn't believe in myself, that now that I'm older, I wish I'd done it. I know I totally could have done it. I thought maybe I wasn't smart enough or something. But, now I'm like, wow, no, I could totally do it. Like, I learned my efficacy, my ability to do stuff and learn and get stuff done. I would have thought it would have been great to be an ER doctor. I think that would have been a lot of fun. and really useful. I would have loved to have helped people in that way, or to have been a fire chief. I had a friend who became a fire chief. I thought, wow, that sounds like a great career. Flying Black Hawk helicopters to rescue people in the ocean, and jet skis. Like, I love that physical stuff. That would have been awesome. Anyhow, choose your career well. Think about it now, and go all the way, and be persistent and diligent, because the harder you work now, the less hard you have to work later. True story. So I wish you luck in it, and we've got great people here who can help you. One person, if you want to talk to somebody about making better choices with choosing your career, your paycheck, is you could send an email to Fresno City College Lori Swain, and she's a career counselor, and she will help you figure out which direction to go. And so there's her contact info. All right, hope you have a great day. Catch you next time.